So what does Paul say about it all? Paul says, therefore among God's churches, we boast about your perseverance. So that means if I said to Melissa, man, Melissa, I got this bad thing going on right now. I am really stressed out. You can't believe it. So if Paul was hearing that, like Melissa's hearing that, what would Paul say? Yeah! All right, you're suffering. Good. Let me go tell Stella about how you're suffering. Paul says, I'm going to boast about your suffering. Yeah. I'm going to tell the whole world about your suffering. Because, and this is Paul's message too, suffering changes us. Yeah. Perseverance helps us grow. Right. Yeah. And if we don't do that, we don't grow. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're having a hard time, hear Paul's words. Paul would be going, yeah, suffer. It's good for you. It'll make you strong. Come on now. Okay. So it's about how we endure. How do we handle that when we're in that challenge? And I think it's profound that 2,000 years ago, Paul called on God. And Paul called on God's power to fulfill what we were going through. What you're going through, and what you're going through, and what you're going through, and what I'm going through. Paul called on God. So he says again, with this in mind, we constantly pray for you, that our God may count you worthy of God's calling, and that by God's power, God may fulfill every good purpose of yours, and every act prompted by your faith. So Paul knew we would need supporting so that we could feel empowered, so that we could act on our faith. Look at how Paul acted on his faith. He would go into a synagogue and debate with the Jewish people. The Jewish people are a very people of like ritual. Generation after generation after generation after generation. That's what they did. That's how they did it. That was their life. Reminds me of the story of the little girl that was learning to make pot roast from her mother. You guys probably heard this story. I think Terry's told this story. Mommy, how do we make this pot roast? Well, come on, let me show you. We take the roast out and we cut 2 inches off the side and we put it in the pan. Okay, why do we do that? Because that's how we do it. So the little girl asks her grandma, Grandma, when we make a roast, why do we cut 2 inches off the side? Well, I never had the pan that was big enough, so I always had to cut 2 inches off the side to get the pot roast to fit in the pan. Why do we do what we're doing? Why do we believe? A lot of times we do what we do and we believe what we believe because that's what we were told to believe. And it takes an opening of our minds to begin to change our thinking. And to share this message of Christ with others. Can you imagine sitting down today with a Muslim and saying, let me tell you about Jesus? Sit down with a Chinese person that's been told their whole life that religion is for the weak-minded, for the unintellectual. Well, that's what we're called to do, is to spread that message and to take away that myth about religion and about Christ and the power of Christ. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up a Lutheran. And as a Lutheran, we were not very evangelical. We didn't go out to the world. At least I was never taught that as a Lutheran. And so witnessing is something I kind of missed in my Christian walk. And so now as I'm getting a little older and my Christian years are growing, I am maturing and I am finding myself wanting to go out. But I need to do that somehow with action. And so that moment for all of us when God comes to live inside you, whenever that was for you, for some it may have been a teenager, for some you may have been an adult. But that moment when God speaks to you and says what He says to you, whatever it's going to be, and you go, okay, I get it. I get it, God. I want you, God, to come live inside of me. I want a relationship with you. I want you to be in me. I am a sinner. I have fallen short of your glory. I will never be like you, but I want to be like you. And I know that if I commit to you, my life will be changed. Yeah. And so whatever that moment was for you, we have to remember that moment and keep it with us every day. The power of that moment of God being alive inside of us. God makes us feel alive. God makes us feel whole. God makes us feel forgiven. God makes us feel loved. It doesn't matter what you've done. You are loved, forgiven, whole.
Yes.
You are alive as a new creation in Christ. And so when you have that and when you feel that, you know you got to share it. You got to get that word out there. And so I'm not saying you're not going to be pruned and you're not going to be tested, because you will. But how you endure that is going to be what's important.
Yes.
So there was another sister in Christ that I came across. And this is the story I have for you. And you're going to read about it this week. But this is a story for you. It's about a 2-minute clip about a sister in Christ. Her name is Jude. And she had an opportunity to make a difference. Okay, audio.
Realized that she was deformed. She looked up at us with a hope, a faith. Will you help me? Will you take care of me? You're my only chance.
Jude took the tiny pot to a veterinarian who recommended that she put her to sleep.
We never considered putting her away, especially because of her deformity.
The puppy was born with 2 severely deformed front legs and could only move by dragging herself along the floor.
The doctor said if she continues, she'll rub a hole in her chest and her chin.
To survive, the little pup would have to learn to do something incredible. Balance on her 2 hind legs like a human.
We chose to use peanut butter on the end of the spoon, and we she had to lift her chin up. Then it was a matter of sitting up. We put her out in the snow to set her down, and she immediately just sprang up and sat up like a rabbit. So we motioned for her, come on, hop. And she took 1 hop. And when she took that first hop, we totally rewarded her with peanut butter and gummy bears and hugs and kisses. The day that she took her first really good hop of the day was solidified her name, Faith. It was our dog, Ein, that actually taught her to run like a human. He bit her on the back of the leg, and she chased him. She didn't even think about it. She just stood up and ran across the yard.
Our dogs were like, oh my God. It's like seeing a baby for the first time, take their first steps. You're like, my baby, she can walk. The greatest thing about Faith is that she makes people happy.
Yeah. She is a demonstration of what it looks like to persevere. What it feels like to say, I can do what I want to do. Nothing can stop me.
I think she's amazing, and she's definitely a gift from God.
One look at Faith, the 2-legged dog.